Hello and welcome everyone to WIldin Out. I'm your host, Marty P, and joining me today we have Hyperin and Tom Carter. Let's go to Hyperin first. Hyperin, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really hyped for the new expansion and excited to talk about our playoffs.
That's right. Now, expansion was announced today. Lots of news going around on the internet. Pretty exciting stuff. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good today. What about you, Mori?
I'm pretty good. Been working on and off on some things, squeezing any news I can get in between. Just looking around, scouring the web for that stuff.
Oh yeah,
So
we had quite the news today.
Yeah,
did quite a few new cards too. So exciting stuff, new keywords, lots of things to look forward to in the coming weeks. So
yeah.
should be very fun.
Always a big fan of reveal season.
Yep, for sure. But before we get into reveal season, we do have other things to discuss. So let's head on over to the meta overview real quick.
Sounds good.
So you'll notice that there's fewer decks this week. It's because we had fewer teams this week. Only 2 matches due to playoffs. So we'll be seeing fewer decks on this chart from now on. First up, Demon Hunter. No Demon Hunters brought. Nothing really to say there. Druid. Beast Druid is the most popular variant. Okay, we see a little bit of Linecracker, one Dragon Druid. So there's slower variations, but for the most part, Druid is an aggressive class right now. For Hunter, Quest Hunter is most popular, to no one's surprise. But there's also more even hunter than usual. We usually see, like 3 even hunters brought with everyone represented on here, and we're still seeing that amount even with only 2 matches. So pretty interesting. Mage, this is one of the first times, I think one of the few times this season, and even maybe including last season too, that we didn't see any combo decks in the mage class that were brought. So
Wow.
pretty interesting there. Paladin, 2 hand buffs. Not much to really say. Priest, Inner Fire being the most popular class. 3/4 of the brings were Inner Fire Priest. So no surprise there. Aggro, though, really dropping. Only 1 out of the 8 decks were aggro. Look at Rogue. So Quest Rogue, still the most popular, no surprise. We still see a good amount of Pillager. Okay. And to absolutely no one's surprise, all those Pillager rogues come from APM. The Aussie Pillager
Yeah,
mains.
I was
Exactly what you
wondering.
expect. hmm Then we move on to Shaman. Free Shaman is at the top. It always has been this
Yeah.
season. But for Frog Shamans, which relatively speaking is a higher representation than Frog Shaman is used to. So pretty interesting to see there, especially since it wasn't limited to just one team. We saw it sprinkled a bit throughout, which is really cool. Warlock still showcasing a lot of variety. It's tied with Hunter for the most popular class brought, but unlike Hunter, it has a bunch of different archetypes
Mhm.
represented.
Yeah, Warlock has always been really flexible, especially in THL where you can bring a Reno or an even and take it out. You can add like Net War if you need, if you're expecting maybe spells. You can add more Soul Rain if you're expecting aggro. Warlock is really flexible, especially in THL.
There's just a
Indeed.
ton of different strategies and win conditions available to the class, so you can pretty much build a deck however you want within Warlock. And then finally, Warrior. This is the biggest drop. Only 2 Pirate Warriors, and that's it for the class. Quite the drop off from just a few weeks ago, where it was a top 3 class popularity across the board.
It's
I mean, it also represents the players who are left in the season. Parrot Warrior was never that really popular in the high top legend.
I don't know
So,
about that.
you know.
I would disagree there. There have been times when it was popular. And in a conquest format, there are still some merits to bringing it. So it's just interesting to see that this last week, among the playoff teams trying to get to the semis, no one really brought it.
Yeah, but what I'm
Quite a
trying to
turn.
say is that everyone is trying to do their own thing, and Pirate Water is not that flavorful, you know.
I don't think that's what it is at all. I think people move to different decks and they don't really have as much faith in Pirate Warrior right now as they did before.
And I think
And
you can kind of see it with the decks that are here. We have a lot of Beast Druid, a lot of Quest Hunter, a lot of Inner Fire. Those decks all very, very good into Pirate Warrior. So, it's still I mean it's definitely not a bad deck. It loses to a lot of the other very common brings right now. So, which makes it much more unappealing.
exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Mechathon too, because it has a lot of removal.
Yeah, that matchup's not terrible. It's pretty even. Mechathon has a lot of removal, but the Juggernaut can very easily get there after it comes down.
Yeah, it definitely varies. But certainly interesting to see. So next up, normally we'd go back to our main screen for featured decks. But because we're in playoffs, everyone's keeping things pretty close to themselves, bringing established decks and not really experimenting too much. Those that didn't have the most successful weeks. So we're going to move straight to match recaps instead. So first up, at the top, you're going to notice we don't have the standings. Standings don't matter at this point, so there's no point in sharing them. Instead, we have the playoff bracket from last week there. So we have on the left teams in the quarterfinals playing against each other to see who will face the teams with buys in the semifinals. So with that, Hybrid, walk us through our first matchup here.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting one. So we have Everyone's a Winner and Aussie Pillager Maids here. Everyone's a Winner, pretty solidly making it into playoffs. Aussie Pillager Maids just barely clinching off that 6th slot, but they have proven themselves in the first week of playoffs with a very, very close match. In fact, with both teams scoring the same points. YoDaddy winning 3-2 over Jordan, Quakelord winning 3-1 over Hazer, Tagger getting a sweep over Bone Masher, Jay scoring 3-1 over Maxi, and Slight winning 3-2 over Tom. Which means that even though it's a tie of 13-13, because APM had 3 series wins, while Everyone's a Winner only had 2, they win. They win the tiebreaker. So yeah, really couldn't have been closer. But yeah, Bowmaster saying in the chat it's 13-9 before the last match. So Tagger just wanted to send a message there, even though it wouldn't actually affect the result. Winning or losing doesn't matter. It's all about sending a message.
And we love it for it.
So on to our next matchup. We have Tagger fans versus Team at Any Cost Wild. Tom, you want to tell us about this one?
Sure. So Tagger fans won against Team at Any Cost Wild with Lasagna against OTC. OTC being 10-2 against Lasagna being 9-3. But Lasagna won 3-1 in the first seed. Then we have Nobs against Swagwar in the second seed, with Nobs taking the win 3-2. Then we have King Ogre against Triple Lift winning for Team at Any Cost Wild 3-1. And finally, we have Shmoopy Daddy against Tulio winning 3-2. And in the fifth seed, we have Kenray winning 3-1 against Pokey Niner, which makes the score 17-10 for Tiger fans who take the win and move on.
Yeah, definitely a big win for Tiger fans here, and that'll put them to the next round, as well as APM moving on.
I do want to point out here that I believe Kenray said that even though he only lost one game, that one game that he lost was to Hero Power Mage. So Poke9 are getting that last win in for Hero Power Mage.
Yeah, Hero Power Mage getting yet another win. Strikes again. Another noob has fallen.
Yeah, I was trying not to say it, but it's impossible.
Which noob lost to Hero Power Mage?
It's
As
such
we
a
all
classic
know.
thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Triple F, for that meme. It's wonderful. It's a good thing you didn't have to face Hero Power Mage this time, even if you did lose to Ogre. But with that, let's move on to our updated playoff bracket, where Hypern can recap how things are and what to look forward to this coming week.
All right. Yes. My dog is going crazy right now, so I apologize, but we'll try and keep her under control. Yeah, so we can see with Tiger fans taking the victory over Team at any cost, and APM winning over Everyone's a Winner. That means that Tiger fans will be facing Rumble Tusk Shakers, while APM will be facing F2L. And the winners of those two matches will move on to the finals. So interested to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it should be interesting. There's definitely a lot at stake here. These guys have already faced each other before, so we have an idea on how things have gone in the past, but that doesn't mean that we're going to get the same result again. So we'll have to wait and see. With that, though, let's move on to the match preview so that we can go over these matchups a little bit more in depth and take a look at some of these lineups that are facing each other. First up, we have F2L Viridian versus Aussie Pillager mains. So taking a look at the lineups here, we have a lot of very similar lineups on F2L's side. Most bringing Beast Druid, or all of us bringing Beast Druid. Most of us bringing Inner Fire Priest. Neji is the exception. 3 of us bringing Free Shaman. And some variant of Warlock being brought by all but Neji.
I'm surprised
Neji's a bit of the
to see-
exception.
Yeah, what is that secret mage? If you can give us some insight.
Yeah, so Neji has been known to bring slow decks. And so he said, I'm going to change things up. I've always brought Free Shaman and other slow decks like Quest Rogue. So let's bring something else, something really aggressive that'll throw them off. They'll never expect it. And unfortunately for Bone Masher, he didn't expect Neji to do this. So now the Quest Rogue, the Frog Shaman, the Owl Warlock are going to have a harder time against his lineup. Looking at the APM side, we see a similar pattern. 4 Warlocks, 4 Druids. Only 2 Beast Druids, the other 2 being Linecracker. Lots of Priest as well. 3 Shamans. And the main difference here is that APM really likes their Rogues, and F2L didn't really care for Rogue. So otherwise, some very similar lineups. It's going to be fairly close. I wouldn't say one side is super favored over the other, outside of Neji into Bone Masher and maybe Slate into Rotted, where Slate probably has the advantage.
Yeah, I really like the Linecracker.
Yeah, on paper this should be pretty close.
Taking a look at one example of the lineup, I here have the lineup for Get Me Out, which again looks really similar to what everyone brought, because you guys were like in line. You every time that I look at your lineups, you look like the Power Rangers, because you are always like, it's the same thing, different color, you know. So we have Beast Druid, cookie cutter list, nothing really new to talk about. Then we have Inner Fire Priest with Drekthor, which means no potion, only one shard of the Naru, and double Web Bunker, double Weblor, when it's usually either one or the other, or maybe three, where you choose like either two Weblors, one Bunker, or the other way around. Then we have Mechathon Warlock with rats in it, and Blood Mage Thanos, where some people switch the Thanos for Runic Egg, but in this case, not. And finally, we have Free Shaman. Again, looks like a really cookie cutter list. The only difference is that it has a Sola and double Chain Gang, but other than that, pretty standard list, at least what I can read.
Yeah, there's not a ton going on here with Meowths. It's just a bunch of good lineups for F2L, and this is an example. The only one with any like real tech cards is Shaman. We all know that Shaman is mostly like 23-ish cards with a bunch of tech cards slammed in there. Just shove it in there like Skulking Geist and Rustrat Viper. Doesn't really matter what cards you have there as long as you have the core. So, not a lot to really be said. Hyprin, what about Quake Lord's lineup?
Yeah, so I think here we have kind of like three very standard meta decks, and then a cute lock. So I'll start with the other three, I guess. We have Beast Druid, pretty standard list. And then yeah, pretty much stock 30. I think at this point, I think most people moved away from the spell build with the owls, but yeah, Priest also pretty standard list. I like this list. Running the visions, and but only one Weblord, with the double shard, which can shard is nice, because it's tradable. So if you don't need it, you just draw a card instead. But I do think Weblords are really good for the deck. And then yeah, another free shaman list. Looks like I don't see any super weird tech choices here. Only one Wind Chill, double bloom. Still see a Wind Fury. I know a lot of people have cut Wind Fury, but some people still run it just for the burst, and also double Chain Gangs there to be able to go infinite. And then yeah, moving back over, you have the cute lock. It's kind of fell off really hard when Sork died, because Mage was one of its biggest targets, but it's still capable of winning. It's very good into Quest Hunter, which Meowth unfortunately did not bring, but loses sometimes to some of the other anti aggro board decks like Inner Fire. So we'll see how that can do.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, these are very similar lineups going in. Nothing too cute or crazy, except for Cute Lock.
Yep.
That one deck being the exception. Meowth has Mechathon over that. Otherwise, this is pretty much just a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So, should be close. Will be interesting to see. And might even decide the series.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see on that. And we have one other matchup as well to preview. On the other side of the bracket, Tagger fans versus Rumble Tusk Shakers. Tom, you want to run us through the lineups?
Sure. So we have on the Tagger fans side, we have some Beast Hunter, some Quest Hunter, Beast Druid, and Dragon Druid. Then we have everyone with Free Shaman, with the exception being Lasagna, which has Hand of Paladin. And then we have... What is that? Is that Pain Warlock? Is that Glareless? Glare Warlock? I love that deck. So we have double Pain Lock, Owl Lock, Mechathon, and even Warlock. Then we have 3 people bringing Inner Fire Priest, 1 Ignite Mage, and finally 1 Kingsmake Rogue being triple lift who cannot let his rogue die. On the Rumble's Shaker end, we have 2 Quest Hunter, 3 Inner Fire Priest, 1 Rhino Paladin. I wonder who that is. We have 4 even Warlocks, 1 being even Rhino, 1 Mechathon Warlock, 2 Free Shaman, surprising the lack of Free Shaman where everyone brought it. And we have 3 Pirate Warriors. I think... Oh, I missed a Druid. We have Beast Druid, Linecracker Druid, with 3 Beast Druid and only 1 Linecracker. Again, I love Linecracker, so I'm a bit biased.
Yeah. I noticed you mentioned Schmoopy brought Ignite Mage. I just want to say, Jordan, shame on you for convincing people that this deck was playable. I hate that you tried innovating this. Just let it die. And yes, I'm
No,
going to call you out on stream. Everyone can hear this, and everyone will know this is your fault. Shame on you.
It will never die. I'm on Jordan's side, you know.
Long live the queen.
Shame on all of you.
How dare you, though?
Which noob lost to Ignite Mage with 4 mana Sorcerer's Apprentice? Ooh, you can see the headline now.
It only sounds like Mari is kind of salty. I wonder how much he lost to that deck.
I didn't lose very much to it at all. It's just not a deck that I enjoy being viable.
Let people do whatever they want. I don't...
Moving on. We have lineups to discuss.
Live and let live.
Yep. So here I have Nops's lineup in front of me. Want to move to that? Yep. So we can see again, kind of very similar to the last lineups we looked at, with the same 3 decks plus a Warlock deck. So we have again Free Shaman, Beast Druid, and the Inner Fire Priest. This time running double tutors in the Inner Fire. But yeah, Nops is opting to go here with Painlock. No Glare, sadly, but still a playable deck. Still quite good, actually. You just it got some new tools. The Nethron is so good in the deck. Nulls too. It's like even lock, but you get to run Broomstick is the big thing. So you just play a bunch of really big minions and then swing the board, and then if you're against a deck that doesn't care about the board, you play a bunch of big minions and play a Lothab. It's does the same things it always did, just a little bit slower now with Glare being nerfed out. But yeah, we'll have to see.
I'm surprised about the double Battleground Battlemaster. That's spicy.
I think Lasagna was running double Battlemaster, so just a little more consistency, I guess, with the finisher. There is no Tamsin PO, but still double Battlemaster, which I think I usually run 1, but I can definitely see 2 being good.
For sure. And then the other side, we have Seth's spicy lineup over here. So last night, for submission, he asked me for a Reno Paladin list. Sent it over to him. And he said, do you have any budget replacements for a few legendaries? I'm dust poor. And you know what I told him? I told him to stop being poor. And yet, even after being told that, he took Kangwar out of my Reno Paladin list and substituted another card instead. Putting a Geist for it.
How could
he? Yeah, how could he? Putting a Skulking Geist in there because he couldn't stand the fact that he was poor. Imagine. But yeah, for the most part, the Reno Paladin is pretty standard. Everyone knows what it does by now. you curve into Nozdormu, and you have 10 mana, and you do a bunch of broken things. The deck looks like an arena deck with a bunch of nutty legendaries because it's basically a big pile of cards that somehow work together. There's no other way to describe it. It wins games, so who's complaining?
Amen.
We also see.
I am. I don't like
We'll see
playing with
We see a free shaman, pretty standard build. Also another Skulking Geist. Okay. Seth went for the triple Geist, in fact, and put one in his even Warlock as well. So lots of spice there. And then finally, we have Quest Hunter. This is a fairly standard build, topping off a Dragonbane. Not much more to really be said about this. Everyone seems to be playing it pretty safe. Occasionally you'll see some tech cards in the decks that can usually afford to slot them in, such as even Warlock and Free Shaman. And in this case, when you're poor, Reno Paladin. But otherwise, straightforward stuff. Nops is going a bit more aggressive than Seth, but since Seth has a lot of defensive tools, it'll go a long way in helping him fight back and defend himself against Nops' more aggressive lineup.
Yeah, a lot to see. See how good is Seth at drawing Nozdormu? It's a big.
Well, if
big
he doesn't
factor.
get it, we all know it's a skill issue.
He always has
Nops is
been.
simply better than him.
Imagine being poor and bad. Ooh. Come on, Seth.
Oof. Yeah, that sounds yikes to me.
So with that, let's spin back to the main screen. Like I mentioned before, we don't have too much to cover today, but we still have our one final question of the week, and it's going to be the same as last time, where we take playoff round predictions in who we think is moving to the next round. So obviously, I'll be a bit biased, so I'll avoid answering questions between F2 and APM, but I can comment on the other matchup going on, and Hypern and Tom here can also comment on both. Who wants to take the first one?
I mean, I think you're smart enough to make a judgment without being biased. That's besides the question. I think you can be like, you know, your strength as a team, and you know your weaknesses, and I think you can make a you can just, you know, show us the way. You know,
I mean, if you really want me to, then I'm just going to say 3-0s down the line. F2L takes it over APM 20-0. We'll get the 23 points. Won't even matter. Actually, no, sorry. We won't even get the 5-game sweep because after the first 3 games, we're going to get 2 no contests. So it's going to be 12-0. Book it.
thank you for that, Marty.
Not even gonna play the last 2 series out of just the disrespect.
Disrespect. It'll be their choice. I just can read their minds.
We'll see. I think it's gonna be pretty close. I think like most of the lineups don't look super polarized. There's one or two exceptions, but I don't know. I think F2L is probably gonna be APM. I think like APM's definitely proven himself, but I think they are kind of just scraping by, staying in the playoffs. You know, barely got in, barely beat Everyone's a Winner, and I think F2L is so far ahead of the pack. So it's, you know, definitely don't want to underestimate APM. You know, that they can definitely do it. It'll just take some effort. And then Rumbletusk versus Tiger fans, pretty hard to say. I'm really not sure on that one. I think I'm gonna say, it's gonna be very close. I think throughout the season I was expecting Rumbletusk and F2L to be the final 2 teams. I'm gonna say that Tiger fans pulls up from behind and wins this week. I think it'll be pretty close, but I'm gonna say Tiger Fans makes it.
I'm going to say that F2L is probably going to roll APM. No offense. Given that it was really close against us, and the fact that we faced F2L many times, and I think you guys are a powerhouse. I don't know if 3-0, but I think F2L is going to win against APM, and then, as you said, Hype, I think that Rumble Still Shaker against Tiger Fans is really close. So we have a 1-0 in one match, and then we have like a 50-50. But I think Rumbletills Shaker is going to move on. So we are going to see F2L against Rumbletills Shakers. I forgot the S. And I think we'll see. I don't want to say who's going to win the whole thing. I am not that confident.
We're just going to talk about this week. Whoever gets to the next round and faces off in the finals will predict by then.
No, I know, but I could have said something, but I'm gonna reserve it to myself for now. I know.
Yeah. I think this is a perfect time to shout out the latest THL blog post from Bone Masher. He did some really cool things with Palbot, and Palbot made some predictions itself. So if you want to check that out, go to the blog and read up on it. We also have a posting content announcements. Bone Masher's been doing great work with that, so definitely support him and check it out. Yeah, I wanted to mention the Tiger Fans versus Rumbletusk Shakers matchup is probably going to be one of the closest that we've seen all season. I don't know if they'll tie, but I can see this being decided by 1 point. It'll be extremely close. And I think it's going to come down to 2 matches. Knobs versus Seth, the one that we featured, and Triple H versus EPT Hopper. So keep an eye on those. If one goes one way and one swings the other, then I think it'll be almost too close to call. So we'll have to wait to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
So, and that wraps it up pretty much. So, like I said, we don't have too much to talk about, but hope you still enjoyed it. Now we have reveal season upon us. Lots of stuff to look forward to this weekend. Good luck to everyone left, except for the people I'm playing against. No offense. I hope you lose, because I want to get through. And do you guys have any last words that you want to say?
Yeah, I think that if F2L moves on, you shouldn't be allowed to host the show anymore. That's just a take, you know.
He's got the inside scoop on all the data before the episode comes out. How convenient that the episode comes out just 1 day after submissions are due. How some corruption in the system here. Marty's got extra info. It's unfair.
Don't worry, I'm very generous, and we have some stuff planned for next season to share the wealth a little bit more.
Oh, I'm so excited for the next season. Except for the fact that I don't have a team, but that's something else.
You'll get picked up.
You'll find one, yeah.
If you're looking for a player, pick this man up.
Hey, it's me. But yeah, I think that next season is going to be insane.
I'm very excited for it.
Guys, we haven't even finished this season. Let's finish this first.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, but I'm out.
You're still in it. I'm not.
Anyways.
We don't have
look at the shade he throws. Come on.
Anyways. Yeah, thanks. P-Weasel, if you want, I highly recommend captaining. It's a lot of fun. You can decide the name, whatever you want, as long as it's appropriate, basically. So, Definitely worth. Your team is dead, and so are you. Old age. Very true, White to Light. Very true. Hypern would know. He killed your team, Hair Club.
Not true. Not true. Don't
yeah,
let them
that's
lie
right.
to you.
Let's wish White Light a happy birthday. He's
Yes.
turning 30 today. He's an old fart. And, you know.
His words, not ours.
Yeah, they could be ours too.
Well, on that note, I think that wraps everything up. So, happy birthday if it's your birthday, especially White to Light.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.